Hey, would you look at that? I somehow managed to get this one done. On time-ish. It's time for a cassette story on this Wednesday, at least Wednesday when I'm filming this, technically. And this is what I've been looking forward to. In fact, this album is one of the reasons I started this whole little segment on my show. Because, this is one of those albums I think more people need to know about, especially right now, that don't maybe probably know about it. So, without further ado, Warrior Soul, Last Decade, Dead Century, 1990. David Geffen Company. Warrior Soul was the product of Corey Clark, a New York musician. He'd been in other bands, and he decided to do his own band. And within 9 months, he was signed by the David Geffen Company, DGC. See him right there on the spine. And yeah, they put out 4 albums with Geffen Records, and off and on albums on smaller labels since then. There also was a period of inactivity where Corey Clark founded a new band called the Space Age Playboys. Or is that the name of one of their albums? I don't know. Anyway, there is a subset of late 80s, early 90s pre-alternative rock that isn't hair rock, but because it came out and was kind of lumped in with hair rock because it was hard rock at the time on a major label, it's kind of got, if you'll pardon my use of the term, that hair rock taint on it. And that was, Warrior Soul is one of those bands. I'd also list like Tesla because they didn't do the whole glam thing, they're just a long-haired rock band. Or Queensryche because they were more of a progressive metal band. But they kind of got big during the hair rock era, and Jeff Tate, teased his hair up huge for a while, so some bands unfairly got lumped in with the Poisons and the Warrants, and that's nothing against the Poisons and the Warrants. Yeah, got a Poison fan back there, I guess. But these guys were not that. They were more of a hard rock band. They called themselves acid punk, is what Corey Clark. Oh, hi. Hi. Hey, Steve. It's my cat, Steve. So it doesn't really fit the whole labeling them that. But since this did come out in 1990, it kind of gets lumped in with that. And as such, it kind of got blown off a year later when Nirvana's Nevermind came out, and all of their subsequent albums, Drugs Got in the New Republic, Salutations from the Ghetto Nation, Chill Pill, are all kind of just brushed aside because everybody's like, oh, Warrior Soul, they were one of them hair rock bands. They were on Headbangers Ball, Hurt Derp Derp. But no. If this album had come out just maybe even 2 years later, ideally 3 years later when the alternative thing exploded, they could have been huge stars in that genre. They do a lot of very socially conscious music, that music with a message. Yes, I'm getting to that part. And a lot of music that, it's just, the title tracks, you can look at a band like, Warrant or I always hate to go back to Warrant and Poison, but they're just the most well-known ones. But you look at these song titles: I See the Ruins, The Losers, Trippin' on Ecstasy, Superpower Dreamland, Charlie's Out of Prison, In Conclusion. These are not song titles you would see on Look What the Cat Dragged In or Cherry Pie. That's for sure. Oh, and one thing about cassettes is they were a lot easier to replace the cases if they got cracked as opposed to CDs, because if you look at this particular case, if you look up real close there, you can see where it says TDK, so real. Ow. That's a TDK case, and got your weird collage-y things and some lyrics there. Very loud cat back there. Steven. So, David Geffen Company cassette, you can see it's got the screws, but it's also clear. You don't see a lot of the cassettes with the screws as clear ones. Usually those are the beige or the off-white ones or the all-white ones. But will it cassette still after all these years? Now, this is another thing about this. This album is not on Spotify. All their other albums are. For some reason, Last Decade, Dead Century is not. And I have no problem. I know another big Warrior Soul fan whose preferred album, I believe, is Drugs God in the New Republic. But my preferred album is Last Decade, Dead Century. That one's good too, but if I find a full version of the album on YouTube, maybe I'll put it in the descriptions if you'd like to hear more of this for yourself. That's just kind of the beginning. Let's do it. That's just the intro thing. I want to get you a little more of a song. A little more of a song so you get a better feel for what you're in for here. There we go. Yeah, that's not what I call your typical hair rock flair lyrics anyway. So Warrior Soul actually had an album out last year, so they're still going somewhat, not the original members, but Corey Clark is always the main driving force behind the band. As long as he's still there, I guess it's still kind of Warrior Soul, so. That's it, Warrior Soul, Last Decade, Dead Century. Highly recommend if you've never heard it. It's worth finding and picking up. Like I said, if I find it on YouTube, some people put albums in full on YouTube. I will link to it in the description below. And until next week, it's eject. Ow.